Hello guys, thank you for stopping by the VZ channel. So first of all, I'd like to say there are many videos online with titles like Asian girlfriend, Asian wife, and all that kind of stuff. And I used to really dislike these kind of titles. They made me uneasy. I grew up in London, and having a girlfriend or a partner in general from a different place, of a different race, is not really that big of a deal because it's a very multicultural melting pot. It's a very diverse city, right? It's awesome. I always thought that having titles like that for your videos makes the other person seem like something other, like too different. And in the beginning of our relationship, I always insisted that we're all the same. And on a deep level, I still think that way. But after having been together for so long, after having lived in China, after having grown up, I have now learned to accept that there are in fact such a thing as different culture. Right. People in different places have different beliefs, and I think that this topic could be quite interesting to a few people. I would also like to add that the culture shocks that we had might not be as strong as other interracial couples, because when we started dating, we were quite young. Yeah, we actually met when we were around 19 years old in university, so we were still just practically kids growing up, and in a way we were still molding each other's worldview. Right, we were still, I think in general, young people are more open-minded than slightly older folks who are more set in stone with their culture, more set in stone with how they used to live. Anyway, without getting too personal and all the nitty-gritty, let's discuss some of the top things that may have led to some conflicts because of the culture differences. All right, so I guess we'll start with family. Right, so family is a huge deal in China and in Asia in general, and I don't just mean like the direct family, like sister, brother, mother, father. I mean like the whole extended family. It is very important for them to spend time together, and they're all usually very close. Right, getting together as a family is a very happy occasion here, and it's usually done over like a big meal in a restaurant. I remember one of the first times I came to China and met with my girlfriend at that time, family. There must have been like 20 or 30 people, sitting around a big round table, which took up the whole room. And they were drinking, eating, chatting with each other, asking me all kinds of questions, being very friendly. And I remember telling them that Christmas in the UK is the time that has the highest rate of suicide, because so many people are just dreading meeting their families. And I kind of meant that like a joke, but I think part of that is actually true. One of the uncles replied to me that in China it's the opposite. People can't wait to get together. Now, while I think that's beautiful in many ways, and I think it's important to maintain a good relationship with your family members, and I think it's actually really sad how in the West some families have members that haven't spoken with each other for years. That's crazy. I still value personal space even more. Anyway, we live in Shanghai, which is far away from my wife's hometown. Luckily, we both value personal space, so it was under mutual agreement. So that was not really a sticking point. We still love to go before the pandemic quite regularly to her hometown and meet with everybody. But yeah, in general, we're here by ourselves, and it's great for both of us. The sticking point came later when my wife became pregnant. Guys, in China, it's pretty much expected that when you have a child, the grandparents on both sides will play a major role in the upbringing of the child. They will help you come to cook, they will help, take them to school, look after them and all that kind of thing. And, especially when the woman is pregnant, it's quite expected that the mother or the mother-in-law will come to help the lady. So that means that especially immediately after birth and during pregnancy, you're basically pretty much expected to live with your mother or mother-in-law. For me, that's just a nightmare. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. I mean, my wife's mom is a really nice lady. She cooks amazing food, and she's never had any problems with me. Yeah, in fact, my wife's family is one of the most open-minded parents of that generation that I've heard of in China. But even though I still don't want to live with her 24/7, and I'm not here in this video saying who's right, who's wrong, right? I'm talking about the differences, not talking about which culture is right, obviously. There's no such thing. I'm just saying how I feel. In fact, I completely understand the Chinese people's view on this. In my wife's view, and in Chinese people's view in general, it's totally normal. And in fact, if you don't have your mother with you, people will, the peers will actually judge you and even pity you. So yeah, without oversharing about all the stuff, there was some difficulties during that time for us, but eventually we pulled through and we both managed to compromise, which is very important in any relationship, guys. Compromise. Right, so the next big different thing about our cultures is the way couples handle money. Right, so in the West, usually freedom is highly valued, right? We value independence, we value equality, we value privacy. So it's quite common that, the man will have his own bank account and the woman will have her bank account. And maybe sometimes they'll have a shared bank account where they, save money together. In China though, excuse me, I'm crying instead. In China though, it is expected that the man hand over all his wealth to the woman, and then the woman will give him pocket money basically to spend. Now to us, that sounds totally ridiculous. And it sounds like, the man is being whipped, we might say, right? But I asked my wife, what is the reasoning behind this, right? Because I want to understand. And it's not just about control. It's not about controlling the man. The reasoning behind this is that in China, society is very wealth-oriented, right? Money, being rich, is seen as the hallmark of being successful. Also, loyalty is very important. So, if the man hands over the most important thing to his wife, which is his wealth, it is seen as the ultimate gesture of trust. It's the ultimate gesture of his love and loyalty to his wife if he's willing to hand over this most important thing to her. Now, I saw it in action one time. I think I saw it in action. We were in a restaurant in Cambridge and we saw this middle-aged couple. And when they finished their meal, the woman opened her purse and gave some money to the man. And then he went over to pay, and we were dating at that time. And I remember saying, no way in hell I'm going to be that man ever. And my wife looked at me and she said, don't worry, I won't do that to you. I'll hand you the money before we enter the restaurant. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, that was something to sort out. And it is not a sign of weakness here that a man does this. It is not a sign of control by the woman, but rather a societal expectation. And just like with the mother looking after the woman during birth, it will be judged by her peers and by the society if that's not how it's done in your relationship. Right? So that's another thing that we eventually had to find a way to work together and compromise on. Alright, so the final thing, guys, even though there is probably more that I haven't thought of yet and I'll make another episode, the final thing I'd like to talk about is the desire of owning a home or a flat. Right, I think that owning a home was a big kind of aim in the West as well a while ago, but ever since the financial crisis, it has been less and less in the minds of especially young people. I think, renting a house has been a much more practical approach and even more desired because, all the trouble that goes with owning a house, you've got maintenance, you've got the mortgage for the rest of your life practically, you've got insurance, all kinds of things, right? So we don't look at owning a house anymore, especially young people, as the ultimate goal. And it's certainly not expected to own a house to get married. In China though, it is still fairly traditional in that sense. It is highly, highly expected for couples, for the man actually, to have a house and to have a car before he can marry a girl. And that is why actually in China, especially in bigger cities like Shanghai, you will see most people getting married at the age of 30, right? They will not get married until they're in their 30s. Whereas in smaller towns where house prices are much cheaper, they will get married in their 20s. So for example, in my wife's hometown, no one was surprised that we were getting married at, 25? I forgot, 24, 25. And then when we live in Shanghai, right, and when we told our colleagues and our friends here, they were like, wow, you're so young, you're already married? So yeah, that's different here. in different parts of the country. Obviously, I would just like to say I don't own a house. So on this term, my wife is very open-minded. I also don't have a car. At the time of us getting married, I wasn't even close to be able to afford one. Now things are of course a little bit different. But still, it is a societal expectation. So there are people that put pressure on her, I guess. Maybe not direct pressure, certainly not her parents. Like I said, her parents are very open-minded about us being together without all the usual expectations. But maybe her friends, right? So people who are her age and they're married, they will have a house. Now, while me not having a house did not stop us from getting married and being together, you know, and it's not really been an issue, it's not one of the conflicts. I know that it is expected by society here, and I know eventually we will have a house, even though, you know, I'm not anti having a house, but I'm also not like, that's not my ultimate goal. Like, I like the freedom of renting, right? You can go anywhere. If you have a house, you're kind of set in stone in that place. I mean, as I get older, I'll probably change my mind about this. But right now, that's not my ultimate goal, though I know it is on my wife's mind. Anyway, I'm lucky that she is very patient. Her parents never even mentioned it, at least to me. So yeah, I would like to leave you guys with these three main differences between Western couples and Chinese couples, and what may be on their mind when you're getting together with them. Alright, cheers. Thank you for watching. Peace.